T.J. Jackson is the youngest son born to Dolores and Tito Jackson of the legendary group the Jackson Five. When T.J. was just a teenager, his mother was tragically murdered. But by the grace of God, he was granted the strength to keep going. From out of the ashes, he and his brothers, with the help of their uncle Michael Jackson, released the album Brotherhood in 1995 that went on to become an overseas platinum album. But in 2009, TJ mourned the loss of his beloved uncle Michael Jackson, and later his grandfather Joe Jackson passed away. TJ has overcome many challenges along the way, but he still remains grateful to God. Today, he celebrates his new solo album, Insomnia. You're watching the Cindy Davis Show. Joining me today is Michael Jackson's nephew, T.J. Jackson. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
And you are so welcome.
Thank you.
What was it like growing up as a Jackson? I know you hear that all the time, but my audience got to know.
No,
okay?
yeah, it's
what
okay.
Was it like?
It was, it was normal, if that makes any sense, because for me, it was normal. My family is, they never made it any different, if that makes sense. I mean, yeah, I got to see some cool things. I got to go backstage for many other shows, not only family shows, but, I still played Little League. I still went to school. And my family was very laid back and humble with all that they've accomplished. So I didn't really realize the success and the impact they made until I was probably late teens, almost early 20s.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew that they did music and I knew they were popular, but in terms of having an impact, I didn't really realize it till later.
How later?
I'm actually still understanding that. I kid you not. And sure, I went on a lot of, concerts with my Uncle Michael, with my brothers, throughout Asia and Europe, and you see fans fainting. I saw all that. But I don't know, they were so laid back, for the success that they've achieved. You would think it would be one way, but it wasn't. My family was very laid back, and my father's still the guy who will go to Home Depot and find something that he needs, And I love that about him, and it's important to be that way, I think.
He is so cool, your father, Tito. I met him in Nashville.
Did you?
Maybe about a year ago on the red carpet.
Okay, cool.
And he was so cool. He was so cool, and it was him and his brothers, and but they were all just so cool. But he was just really laid back.
That's my pops,
Yeah.
And like I said, because he would go from doing performances and sold out stadium show, and then the next day, coaching my Little League championship game, and he never made it seem like he was different, even not only with me and my brothers, but also with my friends. He was just Coach Jackson, and that's. No matter what I succeed or no matter what success I achieve in life, I don't think I can ever be, a different kind of person because I had that influence in the role models of my father and my uncles.
What did you learn from your uncle Michael Jackson as far as musically?
Musically, so much.
Oh wow!
So much.
So if you had to pin down something, what really stands out that you remember?
There's so much, really, but if I had to pin down and say one thing that my Uncle Michael helped teach me as an artist is the importance of melody. Because, no matter where you go in the world, people know melody. Music is a language in itself. So he was very big on melody, making sure the melody's great, and it was a case in point because whenever I travel with him, whether it's Asia, or Germany or the Netherlands, wherever it was, English isn't their first language, so oftentimes they were singing words they didn't even understand.
Wow.
But the connection was there in the melody and the delivery, and that was something he really taught us early.
Isn't it beautiful that you can go to any country, and Michael had that effect on the world, especially him, because he could connect with anybody through his music.
Absolutely.
And
he took pride in that. He was always telling us, make sure your music means something. Make sure it stands for something.
Mm-hmm.
You know, people take music really seriously and they take it to heart.
Mm-hmm.
It can help save people. It can really influence people and the listener to certain things. You know, whether it's emotions or actions,
Mm-hmm.
music is very powerful. So it's something that, again, my brothers and I never took for granted. And to this day, when we do a song, we try to make sure it has some type of impact and connects with people in a positive way.
Absolutely, and it does that. It does that. Is there any pressure to carry on the legacy of the Jackson next generation for
Yeah.
the next generation? Is there pressure there?
That actually, when we first came out as 3T, that was probably the number one question. And
Oh,
I was 16 when we first came out, and our answer was always no, and that was the honest truth. We didn't feel it. And I
uh-huh.
think that, again, that's because I didn't realize the legacy and the impact that my family has made, so we
Oh,
never really felt it.
I got you.
Either that or we were just, young and confident, not realizing everything. But
Mm-hmm.
I honestly think our family just downplayed everything, and I never felt pressure. I feel a bit more pressure now,
Mm-hmm.
only because I understand the importance of music and, like I said, the message that it can have. I have people all the time reaching out to me, thanking me for the music I'm doing now, simply because it's helping them out of depression
Mm-hmm.
or helping them with their anxiety. And the song may not even be about that, but just the
Yeah.
fact that I'm able to help people is a very empowering thing. So in that way, there's a bit of pressure to help people and to help, keep that going. But in
Yeah.
terms of following the legacy or building
Mm-hmm.
on it, I don't
Mm-hmm.
feel it.
Mm-hmm.
I hope I'm doing an okay job and representing my family okay.
Yeah.
But, my family's my family and I'm part of it, but I'm going to do me and whatever happens, happens.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so, how were you able to um, continue on in your music after the death of your mother, though?
Mm.
You,
It
you
was
know.
hard. That was
Oh.
because my mother was our manager at the time,
Oh.
and we were just
Oh.
wrapping up our album. We came out in 1995,
Mm.
but we had been rehearsing for that moment for literally 10 years. We'd been rehearsing and writing songs and for
Really?
that one moment.
Oh.
And then when my mother passed, I would just turned 16, and it was the hardest thing, obviously. You lose all passion, you lose your inspiration, and you kind of lose hope in life. And I went through a bit of that, and it wasn't until, my Uncle Michael, my grandmother, and my father, those three primarily, and some friends and their families, but they kind of restarted me and re-inspired me, and I know my brothers had their own little select group beyond my father, grandmother, and uncle who helped them as well. But we had to do something great for my mother, and that's something that my Uncle Michael always told us: represent her, make her proud,
That
do
sounds
something.
like something he would say.
Yeah, because I'll never forget it. When my mother passed, my Uncle Michael was somewhere in the world, and I swear, I think the next day he was in LA for us. He just
Wow.
dropped whatever he had to do, and he
Mm-hmm.
got there for us. And he was just big for us. He
And
was big.
so your grandmother took y'all in
Mm.
and raised you from that point, or it was
It was my
totally you and
father.
your
It
father?
was primarily my father, but my father had
Okay.
lived almost 2 hours away when that happened. So
Ah.
it took time for him to transition to, having us full time.
Mm-hmm.
So it was my grandmother, and we were older. I was 16, I'm the youngest, so my oldest brother was 21, and my middle brother was 19.
Oh.
So the three of us were still young adults, and
Mm.
I thought I was a young adult, but they were young adults, and we were just trying to get by. But
Yeah.
my whole family came together and supported me, and I always say this to him, to my Uncle Jermaine, that when my mother passed and I got home from the hospital when I was delivered the news, he gave me single-handedly the most important hug I've ever received in my life. And,
Oh.
I was in a daze, and it wasn't until that hug, and that's when I broke down crying, and that's the first time I felt like life would be okay.
Yeah.
And I don't think he realizes how important that was for me, but it was. It told me that I'll be all right.
Yeah. Love is the answer, you know.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I definitely believe that love is the answer.
Mm.
And I think that's what Michael put into his songs. That's what you put into your songs.
Yeah.
You know, so where were you when you heard about the passing of Michael?
We were actually recording. My brothers and I were the first day of recording an album after a long break. We had written all the songs over like a 2-year period, and it was the very first, June 25th, 2009 was our first day in the studio.
Yeah.
And we probably got an hour and a half in. And then, you know, we often watch TV on mute when we're recording. And there was something that scrolled on the bottom that said breaking news about my uncle.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's how we found out, you know, and because we weren't answering phone calls. So then at that time when we took a break, the phone was ringing. And, you know, we heard it from our family, and it was obviously a shock and a tough day.
Absolutely, and you know, especially for you, not to mention the world. I mean, it was, you know, I heard about it. My sister called me and told me about it. But you know, you have really rose above that situation in a very positive way. Now, how did you learn? What did you learn from your father, Tito,
In general, or from the
about music?
about music? I think the most important advice in terms of a music career I got from my father was to be humble,
Oh yeah.
to be grateful, and to never get a high head.
Yeah.
Never think you're better than that other person.
Than the other person.
No, yeah, my father didn't play that. If we ever try to think we were all that in a bag of chips, he'd be honest. You know, he would set us straight quick.
Yeah.
And I love that about him. I think it's so important to stay grounded and not let the ego, you know,
Take over.
because it can and it often will, and it's not a healthy thing.
You after the passing of Michael, you raised his children.
Yeah, I was guardian, and I'm still, you know, my grandmother and I were co-guardians,
Oh,
and
okay.
I'm still guardian for his youngest, who
Oh,
is
I see.
17. Just in a couple months, he'll be 18.
Blanket.
Blanket. Well,
They call him BJ now.
Well,
right?
so his
BG.
real name is actually Prince.
Ah, okay.
But the nickname is Blanket, and the
Yeah.
world calls him Blanket. But now his new nickname is BG.
How did he
and
get BG?
It's something that my uncle would call him. You know, when he and his sibling Blanket and his siblings were growing up. You know, it was a term of endearment.
Yeah.
And it just stuck.
We
So,
have a BG in the family.
Yeah.
I thought that's interesting.
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting. So, do you discipline your children, or how do you discipline your children? You have 4 children.
I do.
Wow.
I do.
You have 4.
You know, and it's tough because
In this day and time, especially.
it's tough, and I got disciplined, and I'm happy I got disciplined.
Yeah.
And times are changing, you know. So I'm trying to figure out exactly the method of how to discipline. But I believe in discipline. I believe in structure, but at the same time, I'm growing into a person where I believe that kids have to, you know, explore and do what they are. You know, and oftentimes, like for my eldest son, I got in a little bit of trap trying to form him a bit, trying to make him something he really wasn't.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was a learning curve. I was a young father. I needed my son to go on because I lost my mother. I needed that love, so I had him very young.
How old were you when you had your
I had
son?
20. I just turned 21.
Oh, okay.
And where I'm from, you know, and you're supposed to go to school first and then get married, and you know, so it was a huge shock. It was a huge shock for others. It wasn't you know, it was a planned thing. But like I said, the way we were raised, all my friends and everyone, they had kids way later. But I needed him, and I just wanted him to be a perfect child, and that was a mistake. So I've learned to just let a kid be a kid and just be there and support them and love them and be a bit, you know, more chill, because everyone's going to make mistakes.
So you pretty much accept the approach of being their friend, or do you kind of like
You have to.
kind of be stern?
No,
Or
you
how
have
do
to
you?
be stern.
Yeah, I
You have
think
to be
so. I
stern.
think
You have
so.
to, because if you're not, then the outside world will be stern with them, and I want them to learn in my house, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm just a bit more forgiving. For example, I was on my eldest son about grades, you know, because he's a very intellectual person, and
Yeah.
I was hard if he wasn't getting, you know, A's or really applying himself.
Mhm.
I was on him, you know, and
Yeah.
I would take all his privileges away, and you know, and now it's strictly about effort for me and respect, you know.
Yeah.
So if he's respecting his peers and his teachers and giving good effort, that's all I'm gonna ask for. You know, he doesn't have to get an A in every subject, because if there's a subject he just can't vibe with, it's no sense going against that. You know, that's just my philosophy right now.
Yeah. So people know you from 3T. That's where
Mhm.
I remember y'all from. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
okay, when I first heard that song, it really helped me over the hump because I was going through some
Oh,
things. That's
cool.
why, and it's so ironic how things, well, not ironic, but planned by God,
Mm.
how things come back around, you
Mm.
know. And that song really helped me.
Which one in particular? Was it anything or
Oh,
why?
anything, but it was why.
Okay.
It was why. I don't
Okay.
know why, but it was why.
Well, hey, songs
But
will
it
speak
was,
to you.
you know, it speaks to you. I think it was the melody,
Okay.
it was the harmony,
Uh-huh.
and it was just, it spoke to me. It really did.
Cool.
And I thank God for you and Michael for bringing that song into fruition, you know.
Cool. Thank you for
Yeah.
sharing that.
Yeah, thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. So, your music now
Mhm.
is about, well, now you're breaking away from your brothers, right? And you
Yes.
just went solo with
Yes.
Insomnia.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
That is,
yeah,
so
Insomnia was my first release, and now I just released I Don't Deserve This,
I don't deserve
which
this.
is my second single. But I don't like using the phrase broke up with my brothers, because I always,
Oh, okay.
but no,
What did I say? Okay. Let me just rephrase.
no, you're fine. You're fine.
Yeah.
That's the term that's used in our industry, so it's all good.
You're
But
right.
I think at one point we'll get back together and do some more music. But right now we're all exploring our individuality and which direction we want to go within ourselves. So yeah, and I'm excited for what it is. You know, it's a bit more grown up. It's a bit
Yeah.
more mature than the 3T days. And it's a bit more me. You know, in 3T, I'm one of three. So everything is a reflection of us collectively, not of me. And with my new music, it's a reflection of me and where I'm at and my artistic choices. So
Yeah.
I'm excited to share it with the world, and the feedback's been amazing, and the fans are loving it. So I'm just pleased to and blessed to do what I do.
Oh, you can say that again. Blessed.
Mm.
Yeah. Insomnia, that was kind of birthed from your love for your wife, right?
That's right.
Yeah, I
That's right.
love that. And you've
Yeah.
been married for 12 years, right?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, wow.
For me, for Insomnia, I just felt, you know, insomnia was always had a negative connotation to it. You know,
Yeah.
you suffer from insomnia, or you know, it's a bad thing. It's like, I wanted to flip that, because, you know, for me, there's been many nights where, you know, I didn't want to go to sleep. I wanted to enjoy the moment and savor the time with my loved one.
Yeah.
And I just wrote a song about that, because I didn't think there was a lot of music out there reflecting that. And that's
You're
what
right.
Insomnia is about. It's about being with your loved one and not wanting the night to end. No matter what you have to do in the morning, no matter what obligations you have, sometimes you got to enjoy every single second.
Yeah.
And that's what Insomnia is about.
And I like that. I like that that song was birthed from your love for your wife. You know,
Yeah.
not want to fall asleep, but just want to spend time
Absolutely.
together. You know,
Absolutely.
that is so. That's rare. Believe it or not.
Yeah. No, I'm hearing that. A lot of people do
yeah.
say that's rare.
Yeah, some people, you know, unfortunately, not for me though. Excuse me, not for me, thank God. But
Yeah.
for a lot of people, I hear that.
Which is sad.
That
Which
is
is
a sad
sad. But you know,
it's a sad commentary.
you know, I hope everyone finds happiness in their relationship. And to be honest, that's where I Don't Deserve This comes from.
Oh.
Because it's about, you know, a relationship, still a love song, but it's about a relationship that isn't in that blissful state, that's more in the rocky state out of lack of respect for each other. And, you know, I think any relationship that has that really needs a pause and to really fix that, because time is precious. And I think there's a way to reconcile and do things the right way if you pause and communicate. And
communication is the key.
absolutely.
I think communication is the key.
Absolutely.
You know,
and both my wife and I, we believe in that.
Mm.
You know, and I don't know. I just see a lot of suffered relationships.
Oh, that's
and
so
and it's
unfortunate.
heartbreaking to me. You know, it's really unfortunate, because whenever my wife and I have any issue that we have, it's tough. I feel different, you know, and she feels different, and I don't like that feeling.
Yeah, so you want to
So
come back.
you gotta fix it.
Gotta fix it.
You know, you gotta be honest and open, and
Absolutely.
I think a lot of times people also don't put the other first. And if you can do that, then it will reciprocate, and everyone will win.
And that is the key also.
Yeah.
You have to put the other person first, not be selfish. And you have to, you talked about
Absolutely.
ego earlier, you know, you talk about being self-centered.
Absolutely.
None of that will have you won't have a successful marriage.
Absolutely.
You know. So now on to something else. You are starring in, or not starring in a movie, but in a movie.
I am in a movie,
You're
yes.
in a movie.
Yes.
Called Influence.
Yes.
Wow.
On BET.
How did that happen?
So my PR, they just reached out to me and said, we know you act. We know you wanted to act next year, because I was planning on pursuing that later once my music came around. But they felt that there was a perfect opportunity for me to start it. And it was a quick, easy role. And, you know, I contemplated it, I thought about it, and I was like, you know what, now's the perfect time. So I just jumped into it.
Yeah.
I did it, and it was my very first acting role. Although I took lessons for years and years and really studied it, it was my first time actually behind the screen, or in front of the screen, I'm sorry, in front of the camera as an actor. And I enjoyed it. I really, really enjoyed it. It's a different type of entertainment than what I'm used to, but it still had that same effect of being able to influence and being able to, you know, to tell a story.
And what character are you playing?
I'm a newscaster.
Are
So
you?
I'm a newscaster.
Awesome. I like
I've
that.
done some hosting stuff, so it wasn't too far-fetched. It wasn't too much of a stretch. But yeah, I'm a newscaster. I don't know how much more I could tell you, but I'm a newscaster, and it's a breaking news situation.
Okay.
So
Well, congratulations
Thank you.
on your role there.
Thank you.
This is just. So what's next for you? What are you planning on doing?
yeah, I think it's music primarily.
Sure. Yeah.
And some acting here and there, but music primarily. You know, I have a family. I was helping my grandmother with my uncle's kids, and so my music really took a back seat.
Oh.
And
yeah.
now's the time, now that everyone's getting older, it's a time for me to refocus on myself and to really do me. And I have a lot of music and art in me that I want to get out, and I'm gonna just ride that ship for some time.
For as long as it can carry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it will ever, to be honest, die, because it's something that I've always done. It's just now I feel it's the time to do it publicly and to put me kind of back as a focus in my life. So I don't know how long that will last.
Yeah.
But for now, I think at least for several years, I'm gonna really focus on me.
Yeah. So yeah, because you deserve it. I mean.
Thank you.
You know.
Yeah.
I think so. You know, we talk about Michael. I know you love Michael.
Yes.
He is your beloved uncle.
Big time.
Big time, I know. So, how are you taking in all of this negativity that's against him?
It's hard. It's so hard, because my uncle was the representation of love and care and giving. You know, I was fortunate enough to spend thousands of hours in my darkest moments, all different types of moments for me. And every single time he was there as a supportive, embracive, and helpful hand. And to just see how the media and, you know, certain select individuals who are after financial gain, how that can try to change the narrative on a legacy that he was so passionate about building, and a positive legacy. To see how they're trying to change the narrative is tough.
Wow.
And you know, the media is a very powerful thing.
Yes.
And it's one of those things where it's one of those things where I'm hoping they'll get called out and they'll give us a fair light to speak our truth, and everything will be okay. But it's really hard because if it wasn't for my uncle, I wouldn't be here, you know, and I wouldn't be a young father, and I wouldn't do a lot of things if it wasn't for him. You know, he taught me so much and cared for me and helped me so much throughout my life, and all my cousins and many other people.
Yeah.
He's just that caring for humanity. And like I said, to see a select few certain people try to change that narrative for personal gain is tough. It's hard to watch.
Yeah, so you don't really watch a lot of it or read about it, right?
I don't purposely, but you know,
but it's everywhere.
it comes to me, you know, and it's one of those things where, like, if you see 10 comments and the one that's negative really stands out.
Why is that? It's like, wow, that stays with you forever.
It stays with you, and so for me, it does kind of weigh heavy, and I think it's so unfortunate, and it's heartbreaking.
It is. You know, Michael's let his work speak for him.
Yeah.
Children of every generation knows Michael. I don't know how they know him, but they know Michael.
It's very true. It's very true.
You know, so he had a great impact on children's lives, and his music reflect that as well. You know them by their fruit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And those are the fruit of his work.
I mean, even my kids.
I don't believe any of it.
I know I don't. Not at all, you know. But my kids, what I was going to say is, they grew up watching, and you know, when they would see the Moonwalker or Bad or Thriller or any of that, they wanted to mimic it. And my uncle just had a great way of connecting with everyone, though, young, old, international, American, no matter where they are from. And I think it's because he really put his heart and soul into his art. And when you do that, you connect more with people, and I think that's I think that's a lot of the recipe. You just got to be authentic, and it helps to be as talented as he was. But he was one of a kind, not only as an artist but as a human.
Yeah, absolutely. He is sorely missed. So TJ,
yes,
tell us where we can get your music.
My music is available everywhere, on all streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, Deezer. What am I missing? Maybe Google Play? I don't know, there's so many. But it's available on all major streaming platforms, and iTunes, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and so where can people find you?
I am on Instagram. I'm on all the platforms, but for Instagram, it's Tito Jackson 9. But I think the easiest thing is to just go to tjjackson.com.
Okay.
And then you can sign up for my newsletter.
Okay.
Connect with me, and because that's something I'm doing different too this time around. I'm bringing everyone with me, so I'm doing weekly emails to make sure everyone's on the journey with me.
Okay.
So it's been cool.
Okay. Well, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Cindy.
You're very welcome. And thank you for tuning in to the Cindy Davis Show. Until next time, God bless.